Thank you, Mike. So we'll go ahead and get started. This is NEHA's Business and Industry Affiliates Mid-Year Membership Meeting. And if this is your first time attending, we welcome you. This is an open meeting and membership is available to environmental health professionals across all sectors. My name is Alicia Collins, and I'm a food safety manager with Dyjack and this year's BIA president. We are NEHA's newest affiliate, and our goals include providing NEHA with a forum to obtain input from private industry and creating opportunities for the private sector to support NEHA. The BIA also provides us with a home base and channel for the mutual exchange of knowledge and experiences with NEHA. We use our meetings and webinars as strategies to help us achieve these goals. Before we begin, we have a few housekeeping tips and reminders to assist us with time and efficiencies. Please keep your phone or computer line on mute. And as Mike described a moment ago, there is a button at the top of your screen that has a little microphone. If you're on your computer, you can click on that, mute your line on the computer. If you have any questions, type them into the chat box and we will do our best to respond at the end. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on our website at nehabia.org. And thank you to BIA board member Mike Priya for obtaining CE approval for the REHS RS credential. And we've been approved for 0.5 CEs. And also thank Mike for having us this afternoon. At this time, I would like to introduce and express appreciation to our board members pictured here. At the top is Brian Keller, our vice president. He represents ABC Home and Commercial Services. Tracy Michelson, treasurer and past president of Brinker International. And congratulations are in order to Tracy. She was recently elected to NEHA's board of directors representing Region 5, and she will join the board this July. Pennington, secretary representing Stereotech. Tracy Graham, member at large representing Ecolab. Mike Crea, member at large of Dyjack, and he is also the executive director of the Florida Environmental Health Association. James O'Donnell, member at large representing the Food Safety Task. Let's proceed with a brief overview of our agenda. First, we will hear from our NEHA leadership, NEHA President Dr. Priscilla Oliver and NEHA Executive Director Dr. David Dyjack. And we are also privileged to have invited guest presenters, Seth Masek of Vanguard Recycling Solutions and Tracy Graham of Ecolab. Seth will provide an overview of his company's innovative waste-to-energy technology. And Tracy will share Ecolab's response to the coronavirus along with industry tips. And then following our presentations, we will transition over to BIA updates and our. Without further delay, I will hand the microphone over to Dr. Priscilla Oliver, our current NEHA president. And just as a reminder, if everyone would mute their line. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am Priscilla Oliver, and I am president of NEHA currently. We are busy preparing for our 84th annual educational conference that will be held in New York City. So I hope that all of you are registering or planning to register very soon so that you can be in attendance. I know that you have some meetings scheduled, and I plan to attend as many of them as I can, and I normally do attend. I am a current member of your affiliate. The meeting will be held in July, and you have probably received the date. It's going to be very exciting. We've got some very good speakers, and I'll let Dr. Dyjack probably talk about that. But we're putting people in place from all walks of life within environmental health, from the business side, the academic side, students, alumni, past presidents, retirees. There should be something for everybody that is associated with environmental health. Now, NEHA has really grown over the several years that I've been on the board and since Dr. Dyjack has been in place. We now have about 6,600 members. And I want you to know that all of them are up for grabs for your affiliate. So my cry to you is to recruit as many people and many diverse people with diverse careers to join your affiliate. I have fond memories of the affiliate for business and industry when I joined NEHA. I remember when retired Colonel Anthony Akins put his heart and soul into the business affiliate. You also have Stan Hazen as your technical advisor, and he is full of a wealth of knowledge. He told me that he helped create the affiliate. So I don't want to hold the conversation up. I can talk forever. I do have a business background with health administration. So I would like for you all to please join us in New York, to please recruit new members, and please stay with NEHA. We need you and we need your affiliate. Thank you very much for all of your support. Thank you, Alicia, for putting this program together and for inviting me. I look forward to seeing you all in New York City.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oliver. We appreciate you taking time this afternoon to join us and provide these welcoming remarks. I'd like to introduce Dr. David Dyjack, NEHA's Executive Director, and he will provide us with NEHA updates.
Thanks, Alicia. And I'd like to riff on Dr. Oliver's comments. We are now rapidly approaching 7,000 members, and that is particularly rewarding to see growth all across the organization. It's really important to keep in mind that about 1/3 of those 7,000 come from the private sector, roughly. And so you represent a growing and critically important component of our membership. In addition to growing membership, our budget for the first time that I'm aware of is eclipsed $10 million. That is, we're anticipating almost essentially a doubling of income over 2 years. The largest driving force behind that is investments from the federal government, the Drug Administration, and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control. And, of course, we watch the budgets very carefully as they come out of Washington, D.C., but we're cautiously optimistic that we can remain at $10 million so that we can continue to invest in the products and services that our members find valuable. If there's anyone on the phone today that is a public health-oriented person relative to the American Public Health Association, if you received their journal, you'll know that NEHA's article is on the front page of the March 2020 American Journal of Public Health. The Uncover EH research that has been conducted under the leadership of Brian Brooks and Justin Girding is really achieving legs and drawing attention to the critical nature of environmental health and protecting and promoting and safeguarding the health and safety and security of our communities all across the United States. So that feels really good to have environmental health front and center all across the country, not just in our own journal, but across the public health enterprise writ large, and we're really delighted with that. There are a couple of new investments. One that we just received that I wanted you to be aware of. We received an investment from CDC to begin to systematically address data and informatics, how retail food and the pool and spa industry data is collected by environmental health professionals across the country, how they aggregate that data, how they report it, so that we can provide uniform recommendations to anyone purchasing software systems about what that might look like, what they need to keep in mind, and we are vendor agnostic as part of this project, and we will be, I think, bringing this thing full circle by the end of August. In addition, we anticipate applying for and receiving resources from the Food and Drug Administration, and this is something I'm really excited about, to hire people to work on environmental health storytelling, which would include hiring someone who's an expert at that, to tell our story as a profession. Initially, this would be focused appropriately on retail food safety, but I anticipate you're going to be seeing a lot more videos, podcasts, blogs, and other communications across the landscape of environmental health so that we can effectively tell our stories to CEOs, to elected officials, and to communities at large. So this is a very exciting development for us. I think I'll wrap up by describing what I'll call as a pivot towards profoundly local issues. I recognize many of you work for national corporations and companies, but environmental health plays out at the local level. We will be hiring a government affairs official that will start with us towards the end of March, and this person is going to be charged with ensuring that our affiliates at the state level have the information and the support that they need from an experienced policymaker to advance their work within each of the states. Finally, I want you to know that I just completed this morning my next executive director's column, which will come out, I think, in April or May, and it's focused on affiliates. It's just serendipity. It coincides with this phone call. But Alicia, I want you to know I give a shout out to the BIA for the really well assembled, delivered, and received webinars that you folks have put on recently around norovirus, around partnerships. This is a really exciting development. So anyone from the BIA who happens to be on the phone that contributed to those, kudos to you. This is really an exciting development, and it's really quite recent in the last 2 to 3 years. So on behalf of the entire association and our membership, thank you for your leadership. These types of webinars, the content is great, but the symbolism of the private sector working with the public sector is not lost on anybody. And I think that's a niche for NEHA. We are the hinge, the fulcrum around which the private sector and the public sector can engage on issues. This is a fantastic start, and let's continue to cultivate programming like that so that we can shine a light on what the possibilities are when the innovation and nimbleness of the private sector comes together with the more disciplined, orderly kind of work that occurs every day within the governmental sector. So with that, I'll end. It's just everything is extremely busy here. That's a good problem to have, as you know, in the association universe. But I'd be delighted to answer any questions anyone has about anything that NEHA is doing at the moment.
Thank you, Dr. Dyjack. If anyone has any questions, they can type them in the chat box. Dr. Dyjack, are you able to stay with us to the end?
Sure. If you would like that, I certainly can.
Okay. We're trying to move right along so that we can save a few minutes for some Q&A at the end. But we appreciate your time, and thank you for the feedback regarding the webinars. They're truly a labor of love, and they take a tremendous amount of teamwork, and we hope that it's our way of giving back to the profession.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll proceed with our first guest presenter is Seth Masek, and he is the president and CEO of Vanguard Recycling Solutions. And he will provide an overview of his company's innovative waste-to-energy technology. So just bear with us a moment. I'm going to release my screen and turn it over to Seth. Is Seth on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Thank you so much for having me today. I greatly appreciate the time and to talk about what we're doing here at Vanguard Recycling Solutions. So as we all know on the phone, waste is a major problem in the country and in the world. And in my career, I've spent 25 years in the medtech sector trying to achieve a simple vision, which is eliminating the permanence of that waste, getting rid of it once and for all, not just burying it in the ground and leaving it there for future generations to uncover. To that end, we've invested in a piece of technology that I'm going to speak about today, which converts biomedical waste into a clean energy fuel source. And I'll try to move briskly, and if there's questions, if there's time at the end, we can certainly answer any questions you have. So before I talk about the technology directly, it's important to provide the backdrop of what we're trying to achieve within the regulatory framework. So regulated medical waste presents a tremendous challenge to classic recycling. You've got mixed plastics, you have mixed metals, and you have biocontaminated material. That makes a recipe for very difficult recycling operations. So when we set out to invest in a piece of technology that could make something purposeful out of regulated medical waste, we had to do it within that regulatory framework, namely that we could safely treat that material and turn it into something useful. The Environmental Protection Agency has a designation for non-hazardous secondary materials, which essentially is exactly what it sounds like, taking something that was previously hazardous and making some use out of it. In our world, that's taking biomedical waste and making it into a clean energy fuel source. And there's a few requirements to get there. One is the byproduct of the processing of that material needs to result in a product that's indistinguishable from its original form. And that's exactly what our technology does. It renders medical device, regulated medical waste, into a fine particulate powder, which has a very high heating value, which in the EPA's world, fuel for consumption needs to have a heating value of at least 5,000 BTUs per pound. So to achieve that, as opposed to the classic steam sterilization, we use a technology that actually dries out the regulated medical waste through the process, because obviously moisture in product reduces the heating value. So our technology actually dries the product out. We use dry heat sterilization after processing to create a sterile, safe byproduct. And finally, yes, sterilization. So regulated medical waste has to be shown to be sterile after processing, which means we have a 10 to the 6 log reduction of spore-forming bacteria, which in our case for dry heat would be Bacillus atrophius. So those three things, those three concepts together have to be achieved to render and to create a material that is useful. So this slide is a shot of the technology itself, and it has a lot of advantages over steam autoclave. One is you just have to plug the machine in for it to operate. It doesn't require water. It doesn't create effluent. It works by essentially taking the regulated medical waste, taking that mass and compressing it to a progressively reduced aperture. So the analogy I always use is if you throw one toothpick into our machine, it would grind it up but it wouldn't generate much heat. But if you threw 20,000 toothpicks into the machine, it literally rubs that material against itself, converting kinetic energy into thermal energy. So the output of just the machine within a few seconds of being processed through the thermal friction unit, it takes material at room temperature and it gets it up to about 150 to 160 degrees centigrade within a few seconds. Once that material is discharged from the thermal friction unit, it goes through a forced air oven, which we validate for the 10 to the 6 log reduction I spoke about on the previous slide. So all of the material discharged is completely unrecognizable from its original form. It's sterile and it's ready to be used for energy. And I will speak a little bit about why waste to energy is so important. So the EPA designates waste to energy as a renewable form of energy, and it's because human beings continue to produce waste that waste is therefore a renewable source of energy. 31 states have also signed up with the EPA and agree with that assessment about waste to energy processing. Every nation on the planet that claims zero landfill has to have some level of waste to energy processing in their portfolio of green technologies. And in the United States, there's 76 waste to energy facilities scattered throughout the country. And Florida actually has the largest density of those facilities, with 11 facilities in the state of Florida converting waste into a clean energy fuel source. Another benefit of waste to energy is that it actually reduces greenhouse gas emissions. So for every 1 ton of material that passes through waste to energy, it reduces emissions by 1 ton of CO2e, and that's from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It's a clean source of energy. So now biomedical waste, which is normally steam autoclaved and buried in our landfills, we're turning that into a very clean source of fuel, which has less impact on our environment. And just a quick stat, spontaneous landfill fires from across the country generate more pollutants in our atmosphere than all of the waste to energy plants combined. So just landfill fires alone emit toxins into our environment, which could have otherwise gone into a clean energy processing through waste to energy. And finally, it's economic. Waste to energy is not what it used to be in the 80s, 70s and 80s. It's a very clean technology. There's tight regulations from the EPA after the Clean Air Act, and it's high-tech jobs. It's very accretive to the economy. So being in the state of Florida, having this piece of technology to take biomedical waste and keeping it out of our landfills really has achieved an ultimate goal of mine in my career, which is to transform biomedical waste into something useful. In this final slide, we performed a calorific study on our extra date, and this chart shows you several different heating values from several different types of products that are used for fuel. And so you can see like municipal solid waste burns right now at about 6,000 BTUs per pound. The coal industry, which is the primary use of fuel for our homes, burns at about 10,500 BTUs per pound. And we tested multiple substrates or extradates from our equipment, one being the red bag, one being operating room materials like surgical instruments, and one being just the plastic material without any inhibitors from cardboard or from metals in the waste. And what you can see in the green numbers is that the typical red bag that we think of when you think of the bags, the boxes, the gloves, the gauze, that burns hotter than coal. The OR, so operating room materials, where I have a lot of experience in selling, so surgical staplers, trocars, things of that nature, they burn at 15,000 BTUs per pound. And finally, if we just isolated the plastics, they burn at over 19,000. We're moving towards natural gas. And that's because the plastics we create in healthcare are extremely high, they're high quality, high value products. So being able to extract those plastics and get energy from them, like I said before, it's an excellent way of dealing with biomedical waste, where the typical rules of recycling, where you're trying to pull out certain metals or certain plastics, it's just impossible to do. So our equipment in a continuous feed operation transforms biomedical waste into a dry, safe fuel source that is powering homes in Tampa Bay and Hillsborough County in Florida. So to summarize, we've invested in technology that is safe, efficient, and we believe necessary. And we believe this type of technology is going to be used in the future as opposed to steam autoclave, because these materials do need to be used for something purposeful other than landfill waste. And because of waste to energy, because of where the economies are moving, we believe our program benefits both environment and economy. And that is my presentation. I'm very thankful for the time. And if there's questions and time at the end, as I said, I'd be happy to take them. So, Alicia, I'll pass this back to you.
Thank you very much. We always appreciate learning about the new technologies and how we can put them together. We really appreciate your time today as well. Okay, thank you, Seth. Our next presenter is Tracy Graham of Ecolab. Tracy is the Regulatory Affairs Manager for Global QSRs and FRS and serves on the BIA board. She will share a brief update and industry tips for responding to the novel coronavirus or COVID-19. So we're going to transition over to Tracy.
Well, hello. I'm trying to.
So you are now the presenter.
Okay, let's see. I can share my screen and pull up. Can you see my screen?
Nope.
Nope. Well, let's see. Share my entire screen. It's not. It's giving me a strange window. Let's try this again. Share my screen. Now it likes it. Okay. Is this better?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm certain that everybody on this call has heard about the coronavirus outbreak by now. And I'm going to spend just a few minutes giving you an inside look at how this outbreak has impacted Ecolab. But first things first. What is this situation that I'm referring to? Well, it's an outbreak of a new strain of coronavirus that began in China in December 2019. It causes symptoms that you might experience if you had an upper respiratory virus, and it has infected many, many people. So you're thinking, what's new? People get sick all the time, and we don't make such a huge issue out of it. In fact, the flu has symptoms similar to coronavirus that last much longer, and it has caused more deaths than this new strain of coronavirus. So again, what's the big deal? Well, in the event of any emerging pathogen outbreak, first of all, as a company, we had to identify what would technically kill this pathogen. And then we had to legally identify what we could recommend to kill the pathogen. And lastly, we had to realistically think about what our customers could use to battle coronavirus. So I want you to think of it like a three-legged stool. You must answer all three of these questions with the same product name to have a viable solution. In this case, the pathogen was identified as an envelope virus. The structure of these viruses include a lipid envelope, which is easily compromised by most disinfectants. Once the lipid envelope is damaged, the integrity of the virus is compromised, thereby neutralizing its infectivity. And this meant that we had a larger pool of potential product options that we could choose from that we knew were going to be effective against similar envelope viruses. So next we had to cull this list of technically viable solutions that we had created by identifying the subset of products we could legally recommend based on particular regulations in a jurisdiction. For the United States, the big deal was that because this was a new pathogen, no one had products that had claims for the specific strain of coronavirus. Because the U.S. has a highly sophisticated legal framework, we have rules in place for just about everything. And sometimes those rules can restrict our actions. Lucky for us in the United States, we had the new emerging pathogens guidance to use during this outbreak. This allowed us to move quickly once the CDC identified the virus subtype as an envelope virus and provided criteria to develop a list of products that were technically viable and legally compliant in the U.S. that we could recommend to our customers for this pathogen. Often people think that the CDC recommendations are always legally compliant. The truth is that CDC recommendations are technical solutions and that sometimes they're legally compliant for specific countries and jurisdictions, but not always. And you must always investigate that. In the United States, the EPA is the agency that dictates what we can and cannot use or claim against an emerging pathogen legally. Ecolab luckily had the foresight to add the emerging pathogens claim to many of our master product labels when the guidance was first issued. So in that respect, we were lucky. We had multiple product options that had emerging pathogens claims on them. Now we just had to meet the extra criteria to move forward. Lastly, we had to understand what we could realistically recommend to customers. And this is where things got tricky. Some of our products are dispensed, and even though the master product labels carry disinfectant language and met the emerging pathogens criteria, the customer wasn't set up to use the product as a disinfectant, so it wasn't a good solution. We also had to consider if a customer did choose to use a product that they might normally use as a sanitizer concentration, did they have the right personal protective equipment on site to use the product safely at a disinfectant concentration? Would we need to conduct training before they could use it? Did customers perhaps need a product that they didn't currently stock? And this is just a list of questions in the rationale for the United States. As I mentioned earlier, this outbreak originated in China. I spent literally days trying to figure out how to get alcohol-based hand sanitizer to legally fly on an airplane to China. We don't normally ship via air, and we typically tend to manufacture locally when possible. But because this outbreak occurred during Chinese New Year, and the government mandated that the holiday be extended to prevent the spread of the virus, there was no one to work in our local plant to manufacture products. Due to the outbreak, the demand was so high, we had to supplement from other manufacturing locations for these reasons. So once I finally figured out how to package this product for legal air shipment, because it's normally sold in flexible packaging, which, as you know, under pressure, just blows up and bursts. Once we finally figured that part of it out, then we faced issues with actually getting a cargo aircraft to ship the product onto China. And you're sitting here thinking, well, you just sign up for one. You just contract for one. Well, that's fine. We did that. And we had more than one flight canceled on us because no one was flying in and out of China. So now what? Well, we eventually chartered a private aircraft to make the flight loaded with our product, and we loaded it to the gills. The lack of the local workforce also meant that we were experiencing potential raw material and packaging shortages to put our products in, because these things are also in high demand, and a lot of them are manufactured in China. The media has kept this on our radios and our television sets for days now, keeping this in the forefront of the public's mind and creating some panic amongst consumers too. Other countries outside of China have started increasing their normal order rates of disinfectants and hand sanitizers. The coordinating with operations becomes almost a minute-by-minute, hour-by-hour project. We have put boats on the water laden with these products destined to become safety stock so we wouldn't back order other regional customers who weren't experiencing crisis yet. And to prevent emergency air shipments, which are highly expensive. This virus is still spreading around the world, and it's going to continue to do so. That means that we quickly have to figure out if other countries around the world have emerging pathogens guidance or rules and regulations that might apply in these situations, because not everyone follows the CDC or the U.S. EPA recommendations. So to say the least, we've been extremely busy for the last few months. Ecolab currently operates in over 170 countries around the world. Some of them have very sophisticated frameworks. Others are a little more simplistic. But understanding what the legal requirements are so that we can make sure that we protect not only Ecolab's brand, but our customers' brand is highly important to my team. It's so rewarding to make sure that every day we go home knowing that we help to keep people cleaner, safer, and healthier, and to know that our customers rest easy every night knowing that we're partnering with them during these crazy situations and uncertain times. So I'll turn it back over to you, Alicia.
Thank you, Tracy. Really appreciate you stepping in at the last minute to share your story and Ecolab's story with us, especially during this critical time. We look forward to hearing additional updates later throughout the year. Just one moment. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So let's go ahead and proceed with the remainder of our agenda. And I'm going to turn it over to Tracy Michelson to cover a few of the first few bullets.
All right. Thanks, Alicia. So, yeah, just a couple updates, just our general updates around the BIA. So from a membership perspective, at this point we have 31 current members. I would say over our 5+ years that we've been back live with the BIA affiliate, we've had up to about 72, so we've got some fluxing in and out, some that have been with us the whole time and some that have kind of come and gone. Definitely want to continue to drive membership on this, and would really, give a call out and a request for some engagement on our membership committee so that we can have a bit more outreach wherever we are able to as we go along, so we can really get those numbers up and get some more help. Really, the board has done kind of the majority of the heavy lifting, and we'd love to continue to grow and expand and do a lot with this particular affiliate, and we're going to need people, lots of people to do that. So I know Priscilla and Dr. Dyjack kind of talked about that a little bit as well, but I think there's a lot of members out there that we can reach out to join the BIA and become active members within it. So we just need to kind of come up with some good campaigns and initiatives to be able to continue to drive those numbers up, both at the affiliate or at the conferences as well as in between when we can. I know we've had some discussions around, we have a few board members that will be at the Conference for Food Protection in about a month, and so we're talking about maybe doing kind of a informal meeting there just to be able to get the group together and just network and talk about ideas and maybe some ideas around what we want to do for the AEC, the upcoming AEC, as well as just other activities that we can do. So just want to put that bug out there. Then on the Treasury, so just to let you know, at this point in time in our Treasury, we have $432.67, so not a huge budget. So if we do decide to do anything at the NEHA AAC, we'll probably look for some sponsorship. I know last year we chose to just kind of stick with our sessions and our booth and all that, but in the past that we have sponsored some meet and greets and different things. So if the group decides that they'd like to do something like that, we'll start reaching out and maybe looking for some sponsorships to help with any initiatives or activities that we want to do there. Tech always does a great job of helping us with having the booth, so that's awesome that we have that in a place to kind of meet and engage. So but definitely we can always work on that. And then just as a reminder, we've moved to having dues due, membership renewals due on July 1st, rather than trying to keep up with different people's anniversaries. So everybody should be receiving a renewal notification probably mid-June to remind them that we'll need our dues around that particular time. That way that gives us a little influx too right before we go into the AAC in case we want to sponsor some food or something like that. And then also if we do have people that are joining kind of mid-year or other times, we will prorate it after 6 months. So we've got some flexibility on that. So just wanted to remind everybody about that. From an elections perspective, we just had elections actually last year where all of our board positions are biennial, so every 2 years. One thing I would say is we did lose our treasurer post our meeting last year, and so I stepped in, having been the original treasurer, and pretty much everything is in my name, so it's easy for me to kind of manage it when we're in between. But as Alicia mentioned, I I can't talk here, voted in as one of the regional vice presidents and cannot actually be on 2 boards at the same time, the national and the affiliate. So we will be looking to add a treasurer before our actual meeting or before the AEC ends. And so just putting it out there, if anybody's interested in being the treasurer of the business and industry affiliate, let me or Alicia know. And then if we don't have anybody by the time that the AC rolls around, then we'll make a even bigger push. And then usually we can appoint somebody when we're not at a meeting, but if we get to a meeting, then we probably do a vote on it. But what I would say is it's not a very difficult position with only 32 or 31 members. It isn't like we've got a ton of money going in and out, or at least at this point in time. And I've stayed highly engaged. Like I said, since I'm the one who kind of set us up as a corporation, and our account with Wells Fargo and stuff, I don't foresee there being a time where I'm not somewhat involved in helping out with that. So if anybody is interested in helping out and being our treasurer, let us know, and we'd love to get you engaged on that. Okay, so elections, and that would really be the only position that we would fill until 2021, when all of the positions would come up for election at that point in time. And then the webinar series, so Dr. Dyjack did mention about and gave us a really great shout out for our webinar series. So we've done 3 so far. You can find links to the recorded webinars on our website, nehabia.org. And then we are planning some upcoming ones as well. So in May, we're looking at doing something around plant-based meats. So that should be really interesting. I know we've had a lot of people asking about that, and I know everybody's kind of curious as to how that's kind of evolving within the industry. So I know even from our perspective, I work for Brinker International, Chili's and Maggiano's, we're looking at testing something out. So I think that is, and I think I've heard not only beef, but that they're looking at chicken and some other types of proteins and meats that they're going to try to develop. So very exciting information there. So we're working on getting our speakers for that for May. And then the next series after that we're considering is kind of around sanitation, sanitizers and different ways to apply application methods of sanitizers. So one thing that we've all kind of been hearing as we go to the different food safety conferences is that we're all pretty much still using, the red bucket, the sanitizer in the red bucket was some type of a cloth towel, and that while that's generally the most inexpensive way to roll, it may not be our best bet, especially when you start thinking about the different viruses and illnesses that are out there that, could potentially need different types of disinfecting or, like I said, even just safer ways of applying it versus, using a towel and just kind of continuously using it on the same surfaces or different surfaces over and over, as maybe having those one use or disposable or something that can be, better from a protecting perspective. So exciting about that. And we feel like that one is going to be a pretty meaty topic, and therefore would probably be a 2-part series that we would do in the fall. We generally don't do anything right in the middle of the summer since we'll be having our session at the AEC, and that kind of takes the place of that. So, and then lastly, I know Alicia is going to talk about all of our activities at the AEC, but I did want to remind everybody that we are engaged with Partners with a Common Purpose, and they will be having another workshop at the AEC this year. That's going to be on Monday, July 13th from 3 to 4:30. When you go to register for the NEHA AEC, you can register for that as well as one of the pre-workshops, and it is free. They like to try to get a good mix, kind of a 50-50 mix of industry and academia, industry and regulatory, and obviously we can get some academia in there too, but really meant to be a conversation where we can collaborate and talk about all the things that concern us from an environmental health and a food safety perspective, and engage from that viewpoint, because we all kind of are looking at the same thing, working on the same thing. Our goal is to protect consumers, whether we're feeding them or we're making sure that those that feed them are doing the right thing. So definitely want to make sure that you guys know about that, and join us if you have the time and the availability to do that. And I would mention too that they are going to be Partners with a Common Purpose, are also going to be at the Food Safety Summit, at AFTO, and at CASA. So we have a website for that. It's pwcp.info, so PWCP info. And you can go look at that website and see kind of where they're going to be. We've got the charter on there. I'm part of the steering committee and helped put the website together. So we've got some information there if you're interested in engaging in that, either coming to the sessions and or being a part of the Partners with a Common Purpose group. So we'll have some volunteer opportunities as well on that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Alicia. I think we'll have some Q&A at the end. So if anybody has any questions later, we can talk about it then. Thanks, Alicia.
Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate all of the updates. Our next item is the 2020 NEHA AEC, and we hope to meet and see all of you there. It will be held July 13th to the 16th at the Sheraton New York Times Square Hotel. So in the last few years, we have purchased a booth so that we can spread the good word about the business and industry affiliate. Someone asked what the acronym meant, and we are the industry affiliate, and we're for NEHA. And we will have a booth this year. Come visit us at booth 203. And in addition to that, we invite you to come on by, volunteer. If you have information you want to set out on our tables, you have job openings that you want to share, you want to set up some flyers or a pop-up that we can put in the booth, feel free to do that. It's scheduled from 6 to 9 on Monday evening, and then the next day, July 14th, from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we will be there earlier in the day, Monday, to set up. If you would like to assist or display your materials, feel free to reach out to me. And then we are also excited about hosting a leadership session. And our topic this year is public and private partnerships, the benefits of engaging stakeholders for the long haul. And we are pleased that we have convened a panel, and we have 3 panel members. Emily Follett of State Food Safety, Jesse Bliss of NEHA, and Angela Montalbano of the State of New York Department of Agriculture. So when we host these sessions, we try to invite a cross-section of industry and government and NGOs and academia to present different perspectives. So we're excited about that. We've held one conference call to plan, and we'll hold another one within the next week. And then moving along to our annual meeting, we will have an annual BIA meeting at the conference as well on Wednesday, July 15th from 4 to 5 p.m. So please join us there. We will have the opportunity to meet in person and share updates. We may have a guest presenter there as well. And it's always a good time to reconnect, especially among friends and colleagues. So that takes care of our business at hand. Did any questions come in, Mike?
No, I didn't see any questions come in. If anybody does have any questions, on the top middle of your screen, in between the microphone symbol and the middle symbol, there's a little chat icon. You can type your questions into there. Also, I put my email address in there. If anybody is interested in getting a certificate for half a contact hour for today's webinar, my email address is in there, and email me, and I will email you the certificate over.
Okay. We'll hold a minute to see if anyone has any questions. Feel free to type them in, because we do have a couple of minutes, and we can try to respond this time.
Tracy, maybe you could elaborate for a minute on where Ecolab's products were going to in China and what their sole purpose was.
Okay, so I'm responsible for a couple divisions of Ecolab stuff, and we were trying to get product into grocery stores and into fast food restaurants. That's the industry that we were trying to send product to. So all of the big six, as I will call them, the big six brands that you can think of in the world, are very interested, as you might imagine, in protecting their brand, and rightly so. And so trying to make sure that they had the product to follow the local jurisdiction's recommendations in-house that they could have. I'll give you just a statistic that kind of sets the stage, right? So we use, in a normal year at the facility that I am stationed at, in our plant, we use about 200,000 gallons of ethanol in a calendar year. We're sitting in February, and we're already approaching that number. So we're making hand sanitizer running around the clock. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Question for Dr. Dyjack. Will NEHA have a presence at CFP?
Yes, we are a platinum sponsor of CFP. We will have at least 3 individuals present there that are working with the various groups, and you can expect us to have a very visible role there within the construct of CFP. If the BIA would like to get together on an ad hoc basis there, please let me know, and I'd be delighted to try and find a place and space here in Denver to make that easy for everyone.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea. Yes. Take you up on that. Thank you. Mike, are there any other questions that came through?
There are not, no.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of the BIA, we extend our appreciation to you, NEHA, and each of our presenters for participating in today's webinar. We hope the presentations and our meeting have been valuable to you. We believe in the strength of partnerships across all sectors, and we invite you to visit our website at www.nehabia.org for additional information, to join the BIA, or to submit feedback. Your comments are extremely important to us as we aim to bring topics and resources that will be beneficial to you. Membership is open to all persons, businesses, and organizations working and supporting environmental health. Thank you again for joining us today. This concludes our meeting, and we're adjourned.